one bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
Q Time is our classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st. Blurs, nerds, and geeks from across the universe will converge on the capital city to see celebrity guests such as The Last Dragon, Timok, Megan Tandy, and voice actor Dave Fennoy.
Hey, how you doing? I'm voice actor Dave Fennoy with a shout out to all my geeks, freaks, and urban nerds. Just want to let you know I'm going to be there and I want to meet you at the Urban NerdCon Gaming and Cosplay event. It's happening July 29th through the 31st in Montgomery, Alabama. Hope you want to meet me as much as I want to meet you.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. Theurbannerdcon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you. All of you.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Welcome to episode 285 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show is covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. For institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics, to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. If you're not careful, we might sneak in some HBCU pedagogical approaches. Yeah.
That is little old 50-cent word.
I knew I would have one hater out there. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta, Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We are filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KSWH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, none other than Ralph Cooper, multi-Hall of Famer in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. I would ask Mike how he's doing, but since he started off like that, I'm going to go to you, Charles. How you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. I think we covered a little bit from SWAC Media Day last week, but we're right here. We're right here at the cusp of football season. This is fun times.
Yes, certainly at the cusp. Couple of media days coming up. Couple of media days at Aspen. We'll get into that maybe the second half to give some more insights of what took place media day after you got a couple of more days to let it sink in. But with that going on, I would be remiss, and while I don't have the mic trigger, so I text the producer might take a little too long. So I'm gonna ask Mike. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, and don't you give that rattler any control over my mic. There's a rattler in the background. Don't you give him control over my mic. You can have control. But anyway, all is said and done. Glad to be here in the studio with you and CB. So all is good. Lots of excitement. Like CB said, I'm really ready for football season. I am really ready. That is my break away from a lot of stuff. So I can't wait.
I want to see how people are week 6, week 8, midterm grades, see where they are about football season based on how the season is going. But you get so excited about it. You're so happy. By the time you get upset that your team may not be doing what you want, or you're feeling elated because your team is really doing well, before you know it, you kind of stick, because either way, you start to get sad because the season is over because it goes so fast. But with that being said, today's show should be a good one. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. Before I go to y'all, what's hot, what's on your mind in terms of HBCU sports news, shout out to Ron Walters is in here. Donald Crawford, Lonnie Shaw is in here. Jalen Riley, Karen Griffin, Aubrey Parker. What else we got in here? Just giving some love as we get started early. Shout outs today. Let me go with this one. This one kind of hits home for me today. Darius Leonard will now go by Shaquille.
Yep, saw that.
The report out of here. I thought that was pretty intriguing. And the part of the story that you may not realize is that actually Darius has gone by Shaquille all his life. It is his middle name, and his family calls him Shaquille. You all know this. I go by Kenyatta. First name is Japhus, named after my father. But in the household, you're not going to be running around calling two people Japhus, or you can get confused. I guess you could. So I grew up using my middle name, and I have affinity for it. It is different, much like Japhus, but it has the connection with Jomo Kenyatta, first president of Kenya. So in a lot of ways, I really appreciate that. And so I tend to go by Kenyatta. And it's funny, in the workforce, everybody wants to call you by your first name, especially folks that don't know you. But I guess that's a good thing, because sometimes they don't know you. That differentiates for folks that really know you. They call you Kenyatta, while folks that don't, they call you Japhus. And obviously, in the academy, oftentimes people use your official title in a lot of ways, which is Dr. Cavil. But I kind of related to that. So I wanted to jump out ahead of y'all and talk about that a little bit, because I thought that was cool. I can relate to Coach linebacker Darius Leonard. That's probably about the only level, other than us being both from HBCU. Shout out to Shaquille.
Yeah.
You know what? I kind of feel that one too, because it's one of those things. A lot of people call me Chuck, but I hate to see Chuck on anything written down. So if you're addressing me in any official capacity, yeah, I'd love to see Charles. But yeah, it's that's one of those things. It's one of those almost pet peevish sort of deals. Like I can't see Chuck written down anywhere.
Yeah, I think if anybody else, to be honest, if anybody else comes in here and steps in there, just call me Shaquille. Let's just be real. You're gonna be looking at you like, but because Darius Leonard, all right, dog, you got it. You got it. Like, so
he gets to call the shots on that.
Yeah, you can call whatever shots you want to.
You enjoy yourself. All right, no problem.
All right, no problem.
Anything else before we start? You like some water?
Exactly.
I feel you on that, Mike. Yeah. Step lightly. With that, let me stick with you, Mike. What's some news out there that's hot on your mind that you want the people to kind of know, and we can discuss a little bit?
Well, this one came out. This was a huge surprise to me. So the Big South announced his preseason favorites to win the Big South. And the Aggies of North Carolina A&T were picked to win the Big South. So I went back, did my homework a little bit. They finished in 2021 a respectable 3-4. They had a couple of key victories, but they couldn't get past that. Was in Monmouth and Kennesaw State. So Kennesaw State was 7-0. Monmouth was 6-1. Kennesaw State or Monmouth, they've been 1-2 in that conference forever. So they've got a few, I guess all Big Souths coming back. But I was scratching my head on that one. I was like, am I missing something? And there's a couple of like HBCU Game Day, HBCUsports.com. They ran a couple of articles on it. You saw a couple of media days, but I was like, what is it that I'm missing? Normally you look at who's going to be all first team, all whatever. But that was, I'm happy for A&T and Coach Washington, but I'm a little surprised at that one, considering how they finished in the last, year and a half. So, So congratulations to A&T.
I think some of that is from attrition. When you break down the first place votes, just to give some people some more indication, is North Carolina A&T has 6 first place votes for 60 points. Campbell, which is 2 points at 50 points. That's going to be interesting for Campbell because they play a couple of HBCUs this year. Obviously, a lot of people have talked about Jackson State did homecoming. Obviously, they play A&T in a conference game, and then they play another team out of the MEAC.
Yep.
So that's going to be fascinating to see what that looks like. You do have also 2 first-place votes for Charleston, who comes in tied for 3rd with Garner-Webb that gets 1 first-place vote. total of 44 points. And Bryant, a newcomer to the conference, gets 1 first place vote. Robert Morris sitting at the bottom. So that's going to be, like you said, intriguing to see what that looks like when you talk about predicted order of finish. But when you take out 2 strong programs, A&T thought for many people that they will come in being stronger last year. I could see where a lot of voters in terms of coaches respecting the talent and what they do, as well as SIDs, think that they will be able to step in with the guard and make their statement. So it's going to be fascinating for the fans as they get ready to go into the Colonial. What does that look like? They have some really intriguing non-conference games against HBCU previous conference members in terms of North Carolina Central to open things up, which some people think North Carolina Central will be in the race for the MEAC. It'll be interesting to see where their order finish. That comes out Friday and officially in the capacity. We'll talk a little bit more about the MEAC on Thursday. I thought that was fascinating. They also have South Carolina State on the schedule. So it's going to be some interesting matchups in terms of seeing what that looks like when you talk about North Carolina A&T, what they get done in the conference race, making a bid to do that automatic bid as they get in the playoffs to see what that looks like. So I'm fascinated in a lot of ways to see where that goes in terms of those matchups. They had
one more thing, Doc, if you can allow me. When you look at and delve into the reports, the reports are highly favorable on the D side, on the defensive side, and then when you look at some of the ratings, you talk about McDaniels, you talk about linebacker Jacob Roberts, there's highly pub on their defensive side. On the offensive side, and I don't want to go into a lot of details, it's like they'll try to work their way up to number 6 or number 7 in the conference. So if their defense is strong, but their offense is 6 or 7, I'm kind of looking at the math and looking at the rankings, and see how that math is going to work. So,
well, when you take a look at them, I think North Carolina A&T over the past few years, they made their bones on the defensive side of the ball. They did have some dynamic offensive playmakers, but when you talk about that North Carolina A&T over the past few years, it was that defensive line and those linebackers that flew and got after you. So it'll be interesting to see, can they get back to what we've come to know them as in terms of North Carolina A&T over the past few years. But you talk about one of the better ones in the country in terms of Jermaine McDaniel, all preseason, all Big South honors. So it'll be interesting, can A&T get back to that level that we've been accustomed to seeing them over the past 6-7 years.
Absolutely.
Coach Washington has selected Jacob Roberts, linebacker junior. And on the offensive side, he went with an offensive lineman, redshirt sophomore, Cesar Monero. We talked about this last week in several of the HBCU conferences, saying that some teams have strong defenses, solid offenses, but a lot of the team may go in terms of the quarterback play. That's another thing that's going to be interesting in North Carolina A&T, that they are some question marks in terms of just how strong they will be in the stands, and probably have a small quarterback battle a little bit going on. So that's fascinating when you talk about that. So good points made by both of you. Let me go to you, Charles, to give you some updates on yours. But before you do that, as you said, Mike, for those that are interested, looking specifically at A&T, obviously you talked about the start of this being on ESPN Plus. They had opening remarks from the commissioner, and they also have that agreement with Ohio Valley Commissioner. So Beth, the boss, in terms of Kyle Callender from the whole Ohio Valley, will also give some remarks. And you saw this when Ohio Valley did this last week with Tennessee State. But North Carolina A&T is scheduled to go at 2:35 Eastern. You specifically are looking to see what the interviews will be related to the Coach Washington and his players. With that, Charles, go ahead. Talk to me in terms of what else is out there.
Yeah, big news today, announcement in the band world, but national recording artist, Grammy-nominated group, Migos. They will be headlining the National Battle of the Bands right here in Houston, Texas, NRG Stadium. Circle the date, August 27th, 6 p.m. This is going to be huge. Addition of the world famous hip hop act Migos to 2022 National Battle of the Bands lineup is a gigantic milestone, merging popular hip hop with the spirit and soul of music produced by our nation's finest HBCU marching bands. That is a quote from Derek Weber, the executive producer of the National Battle of the Bands. We're thrilled that spectators will get to see the iconic band showcase and a premier hip hop performance with the same ticket. So that's going to be huge when we talk about Migos being here at the National Battle of the Bands.
I also wanted to get in a little bit, some other news out here. So I'm going to go back to you, Mike. Anything else you want to put on the table that has you interested? I think that's a big deal in terms of, before I go to you, with the Pepsi National Battle of the Bands for 2022, when you get a headline group, Migos, Grammy Award-winning hip-hop rap duo there. I think that's going to be significant when you talk about that. Touching down here is fascinating what that looks like in terms of putting another stamp for the National Battle of the Bands.
Yeah.
What else you got out there, Mike?
Yeah, so I just want to know, do both y'all listen to the Migos first?
Of course.
Okay. I'm just asking. You got Big Mike wants to know these questions. So,
if you, I know a lot of people don't listen to radio, but if you turn on the radio, turn on the music channels, it's hard to miss them. But yeah, in terms of your playlist, my playlist is not that deep of the Migos, but yeah, I get it in.
All right, so I know in the last week, I don't know if we've touched on this. The CIAA has announced its 2022 football broadcast schedule. So it's pretty big. So 5 CIAA games will be televised on Aspire TV, including the 2022 CIAA Football Championship, which will be held in Salem, Virginia on November 12th this year, our Lord, 2022. PRC Communications will be televising 10 CIAA games live through regional networks, while a total of 30 conference games will be showcased on HBCU Go's platform. So Aspire TV's 4-game regular season slate, which includes the league's 12 teams, begins Saturday, October 15th, when Lincoln, out of PA, baby, visits Elizabeth City for the Vikings homecoming. Don't know if that's a mistake or just genius in the works. Next week, Johnson Smith hosts Fayetteville State for its homecoming. And then Aspire TV will also cover the October 29th tilt between visiting Johnson C. Smith and host Winston-Salem State, and then the November 5th battle between St. Augustine and Shaw, with the Bears hosting. So a couple of big matchups. There's a lot of other stuff there. For the sake of time, I won't cover all the details, but I thought that was big. We always talk about the SWAC and the MEAC, but the CIAA has a heavy slated program of coverage across the way, with Aspire TV, to me, stepping up. And I think I'd look, maybe this is a business question, I look for Aspire TV to step up in bigger markets in the next 2 to 3 years, but that's a business discussion.
Yeah, we might come back to that. I like that discussion before we end the show. Aspire TV and moving out, because what you've seen them really capitalize on the CIAA, do they want to spread their wings? As you talk about moving out, getting in some SIAC. It'll be a challenge because they have to deal with ESPN. So what does that look like? Obviously, you have SWAC and MEAC with ESPN. You have SWAC with ESPN and HBCU Go. You see HBCU Go getting into business with CIAA. 10 regional games, 30 contests streaming on HBCU Go platform, and Aspire's 4 games. Really nice TV slot to get a lot of different ways that people can see your games. I think that's a big deal. When you pointed out in terms of that platform, all 12 teams and their homecoming contests of Bowie State, Lincoln, St. Augustine, and Shaw will be featured on the platform of HBCU Go. I thought that was an interesting tidbit in terms of what that looks like. With that, we'll be right back after this first break. Stick with us as we give you more on your HBCU sports.
Oh, That spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless. It's something we all like.
Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st.
World, what's happening? Rob Morgan here. Just letting you know, July 29th through the 31st, I'll be at Montgomery, Alabama, Urban NerdCon. Come on out, get something signed, take a photo, say hello, let's share some stories and create some memories, you know? Peace.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. Theurbannerdcon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they want to tab, I'ma do the dab, yeah.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, yeah. And who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. I did want to get in a little bit of the Colonial when we talk about Hampton, as they have their media day coming up on the 28th in terms of a virtual media programming. Hampton has head coach, obviously Coach Robert Prunty, wide receiver Jada Kiss Bonds, and kicker punter Axel Perez will be the student athletes that'll be present in terms of this event. So it's fascinating. They talk about some of the matchups, which I'm really interested in. They don't do a predicted order, so they'll release it at the event, so we don't have that ahead of time. So I'd like to ask you all, what's your thoughts in terms of the inaugural season for Hampton and the Colonial? But before I do that, let me give you some of these matchups that are coming up outside of the Colonial and specifically for HBCUs. Obviously, with Hampton, you got the Howard-Hampton game to open things up September 3rd. You have Tuskegee at Hampton on September 10th. Another matchup between a HBCU, in this case, MEAC, and the Colonial will feature Morgan State and Townsend, both Baltimore, Maryland programs. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Townsend got the best of Morgan. New coach in town, though, for Morgan State. Saturday, September 17th, you have North Carolina Central facing the Colonial member New Hampshire. You also have the Battle of the Bay that weekend with Colonial member Hampton facing off with MEAC Norfolk State. Time has not been determined for that matchup. The Saturday, September 24th, features Hampton as a conference member going up against Delaware. Delaware is usually a perennial program in the Colonial and across the FCS landscape. Then they travel up state, if you would, to Maine. Well, in this case, Maine actually travels to Hampton, going to Virginia, I should say, excuse me. And then going into Saturday, October 15th, you have Hampton against Albany. Albany, New York, not Albany State, down in Georgia.
Not Albany.
Mike, 26, you have Richmond at Hampton. You have that should be interesting because you have previous coach Howard that has went back to his alma mater, taking over at Richmond. Now he gets to travel to Norfolk, going back to a Hampton game in terms of conference game in the Colonial there. You have Morgan State going on the road to Delaware. And then October 29th, you have Hampton on the road at Villanova, conference matchup. Saturday, you have a conference matchup with William and Mary at Hampton. That's November 5th. You have Morgan State at Stony Brook. Stony Brook is a new one of those members to the Colonial in football, obviously. They were in Colonial for other sports. Saturday, November, Elon at Hampton. And then they close things up on the road as Hampton goes to Townsend, November 19th, in terms of that. Tough schedule.
Tough schedule.
First year, when you match up some of your rivalry games in HBCU, some of your previous opponents in the MEAC, and then you go in the Colonial. 8-game schedule. Let me ask you this first, Mike. What are your thoughts in terms of Hampton's inaugural season in the Colonial?
Well, they have some tough teams. I noticed they don't have James Madison. James Madison has won that division the last 2 or 3 years.
They bumped up.
Yeah.
But remember, James Madison is going to FBS.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Pushed out. They got pushed out.
That's right. James Madison.
Were not going. They play a final season. To your point, they were going to play a final season.
That's right.
Colonial, and then Colonial said, "No, y'all not going to be eligible for the championship." So James Madison said, "Okay, no problem. We're going to seed up." And they were able, to their credit, they were able to bump up the time frame of getting conference games, even though they won't be eligible, quote unquote, for a championship. They'll bump up, start their transition to FBS, but they'll play a conference schedule in the Sun Belt Conference.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike, finish up.
No, and that's my bad. I thought for some reason I'm thinking James Madison had one more year, but I was wrong with that one. So
you were right. They were supposed to have one more year, but it got ugly.
Ugly.
Let's be frank about it. They got ugly.
So needless to say, it's a tough schedule. I guess the overall question is, you got Villanova, who's also finished at 2 or 3 in the last couple of years. You've got Albany, which went from the penthouse to the cellar. I think it was 2019-20. They went from last to second in 2021. So they have some tough matchups. So the other thing is I kind of looking at other sports. I'd be remiss if you look at, basketball or spring sports like lacrosse. I'm sorry, I had to throw that lacrosse in there. These are powerhouse lacrosse teams as well. So I wonder how their spring teams will fare with these teams as well, which are strong. And I would say track and field. I would also say to a certain extent, and maybe basketball in some instances. I wonder how, when basketball starts in the fall and finishes in the spring, I wonder how the other sports will fare as well. But football-wise, I kind of see them in the middle of the pack, closer to the bottom. So we'll see. I don't know what Hampton is bringing to the fray in terms of recruits. I have not done all the reports, but I know when they finished in the Big South, it was not pretty. So we'll see what they go ahead. I'm sorry, CB.
No, that leads me to my question. Did the seasoning up in the Big South, did that prepare them for this CAA schedule? When you take a look at the CIAA, it's one of the premier conferences in the FCS. When you take a look at the work that James Madison has done over the past few years, and just you take a look, Delaware is one of those teams as well.
Yep.
They've all had some really, really good programs. This is a tough schedule for Hampton, and it'll be interesting to see really what how they can sort up their recruiting efforts to get those sorts of athletes that can compete within this conference. But this initial foray, I think, is going to be a pretty tough one for the Hampton Pirates.
Yeah, October they got Albany, Richmond, and Villanova all back to back to back, and that's a tough schedule. So,
but they do have one of the best punt returners in the nation, and with one of the best names, Jada Kiss Bonds.
Man, I love that name. I've changed my name. I mean, you know, if there are two names I would have, maybe Kenyatta and Jadakiss.
And Jadakiss.
I appreciate you, Mike. Turn his mic up. Turn the mic up. Y'all can hear what Mike's saying. With that being said, man, I only see 2 overall wins. Maybe they get a third one in there. You know, a couple. You know, we're playing cards, a couple of possibles. You know,
what you got them over Howard and over
Tuskegee?
Tuskegee. Yeah, Tuskegee and who else?
Over Tuskegee, and I have them over. I got them getting a 1 conference win over Maine.
Maine. Okay, I can see that.
I have them losing to Norfolk State. That's probably a possible one they can get.
Ooh.
They lost last year to Norfolk State. And I have them losing to Howard to kick things off in the Battle of the Bay. Many people would say Hampton to get that done. So 4 wins. But I only have them having 1 conference win.
Yeah. Man, you pick Maine as that conference win?
Yeah, where else you getting it? Albany? You going with Albany for the that game is on the road. I got Maine because maybe they'll be able to get it done because they're at home. I like to see where the game is played. They got Albany. Like you said, they bumped up and down pretty strong last year, how they finished. Yeah. But it's on the road.
Yeah.
Road games are always tough. You got Richmond at home, but I'm not too on that. Villanova is on the road. You got William and Mary. That's a rivalry game to some state where it's at home. I think that's a tough one.
Yeah.
You got Eloy. Keep that close. Maybe you can find a way to get that. And then Townsend, but it's on the road. So some of your games that, you know, you probably have a better chance of winning, the tough problem you got there, they on the road. Some of the games, some of your tougher games, good thing is you have those at home. So it's going to be fascinating to see what that looks like. One of the things that I thought of also is, as I was recognizing, when you have the number of teams, 12, 14, as they talk about, is the fact that you're going to have an 8-game conference schedule.
Yep.
During an 11-game season, that means you only have 3 non-conference games. Oftentimes you use those for a money game. So that means 2 at best, 3 HBCU can play. So there's not a lot of room for that. Obviously, when A&T comes in next year in the Colonial, that will help some possibly get you 3, 4 HBCU games just to keep some of that cultural aesthetics. It's gonna be fascinating to see what that looks like. Between those 2 things,
what's the luster of is it the Battle of the Bays? Is it Howard Hampton? No, that's different. But that Howard Hampton, what's the allure to that?
The real HU.
Yeah, the real HU.
Yeah, I think the games that I think they got some really good non-conference games right there to kick things off, where you're gonna get the meat on your bone.
Where you're gonna get a little money.
You see with Tennessee State. So, you got Hampton and Howard. That's the real HU. So you got the reincarnation of the Booker T. Washington with Hampton and Tuskegee. Even though D2 Tuskegee, a lot of people would be excited for that matchup. And then you got, you know, the rivalry across the Bay rivalry. I don't even want to say across the Bay rivalry with Norfolk State.
Yeah, the Battle of the Bay is 17th.
So those are the 3 games that, you know, in terms of non-conference, to get you excited. But we'll put a pin on there and come back, get a little more into it. This is Dr. Ville inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh, yeah, it's ballpark season.
Q Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st. Blurs, nerds, and geeks from across the universe will converge on the capital city to see celebrity guests such as The Last Dragon, Tybok, Megan Tandy, and voice actor Dave Fenoy.
Hey, how you doing? I'm voice actor Dave Fenoy with a shout out to all my geeks, freaks, and urban nerds. Just want to let you know I'm going to be there and I want to meet you at the Urban NerdCon Gaming and Cosplay event. It's happening July 29th through the 31st in Montgomery, Alabama. Hope you want to meet me as much as I want to meet you.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. Theurbannerdcon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Guys, I want to interrogate you a little bit. I didn't get to do this Thursday as we wrapped up. I wanted to interrogate y'all. You know, this is an old research word. We're going to interrogate you on terms of your predicted order of finish. You know, it's fascinating what y'all said. I just want to go inside a little bit because you didn't get a chance to really break it down and explain, you know, which direction you went and why you went there. Let's start with the Western Division.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Because there's just so much to discuss with the Western Division. I think you can go in so many different directions for so many different reasons. You know, as Mike was talking about, you know, some people excited about Southern. Fans are back posting in here. I'm excited about them. You know, a couple of fans come back to troll some other folks. They excited. Mike was talking about how you doing. He just said he gonna say Gucci. You know, he doing well. I wonder what that's referring to.
Probably the coach's dressing attire was all Gucci. Gucci labels, Gucci outfit, Gucci shoes. He was coordinating.
So, Mike, you sat up here and picked, and I'm gonna go in descending order, worst to first. You have at number 6, Texas Southern University. Is it that you don't believe in body, or is it more that you still have question marks on the defense? These are some of the questions you can ask at the end. And number 5, you have Prairie View. Surprised a lot of folks in terms of your question marks to Prairie View. It'd be interesting to see what concerns you have there. You have Pine Bluff at 4. You have Grambling at 3, making a step back into the football business. At number 2, you have Alcorn. And number 1, you have Southern. I guess the first question, did they get it right in terms of how you push anything? You get a chance, you can share if you want to change, update things because of what you heard the media day after the interviews, or are you pretty much still comfortable of where you selected your predicted order of finish?
I actually had TSU finish switched with Pine Bluff. I may have texted that wrong when I put that to you, so I apologize. But other than that, that's my order. Besides the TSU and Pine Bluff being switched, Prairie View is still, to me,
you said that's wrong. Other than that, that's my order. So, okay.
That is my order. So I could have sworn when I saw the predicted order at the SWAC media day, I thought they had Prairie View higher. And then I saw yours. I don't know. There are too many unanswered questions with Prairie View. They lost key pieces on defense. They got a new coach. They're going to have a new offensive scheme. Conley coming back as a quarterback. But, is Prairie View going to have those dogs that they've had on defense? That's a big question. Alcorn State arguably could be number 1. But if you look at who the all SWAC conference leader, there's no Alcorn players there. That lets you know that people don't know about Alcorn, but you know that they have the pedigree to be in that top 1 or 2 slot. So Southern University, the only question back is a quarterback, but I think people are voting, and me included, in Coach Dooley's ability to coach a good team. So I think that ranking for me was about Coach Dooley's ability to coach a really good team. They have the talent, including Dumas. They have the talent. I think he can coach a very good team. Alcorn State's the question mark. But to me, the big question mark, and I think they're going to be spoilers, is Texas Southern. We already talked about Andrew Body, quarterback. That kid can play phenomenally. The big question is defense. Last year, they were in the cellar with the SWAC in defense. If they can muster up a good defense, what's that defense going to look like? Did they get some linemen? Did they get downline rush? Did they get at least 1 or 2 good defensive backs? They had very few interceptions. If they can get some support on the other side, I still think even that alone, TSU is going to be a spoiler this year. They're the X factor. So for those reasons, I'll give CB a chance to get in here. But there'll be a couple of key matchups. There'll be parity. There'll be games that I thought that Southern's going to win. They just may lose. But right now, looking into this kaleidoscope and what we have, I still got Southern kind of coming out on top in the West.
Good points. I don't know if Charles is running from us or whatever. Just my understanding that they have an internet outage in this area. So if he comes back, he'll try to jump back on. But for the sake of what you were referencing, the conference had the breakdown with Texas Southern at 6. So you were right in line with that. Arkansas Pine Bluff at 5. Not too difference in your mix. Grambling at 4, not too much difference. But they had Prairie View, as you alluded to, they had at 3. Pretty significant difference from what you have. Prairie View also had 5 first-place votes. You have Alcorn at 2, 5 first-place votes, and you have Southern with just 1 total point about Alcorn, but 11 first-place votes. So total points is intriguing in terms of how close Southern and Alcorn were, but in terms of first-place votes, they have a lot more. So you have a lot of folks that have Southern essentially 1 or 2. You have Alcorn with 5 people having that top, but other folks have them much further down. Similar with Prairie View, you either all in on Prairie View or you have them much further down, which is interesting. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that there was one person out there that says Grambling with a first place vote. Fascinating when you break it down in that manner. Now, even though Charles is not here, we're going to make sure that people know what his thoughts were. We don't get a chance to hear what he's saying, but he did talk about in terms of from, again, the bottom to the ascending order. You have Pine Bluff at 6. You have Grambling at 5. So doesn't see a lot of work there. So he's coming right on time. Charles, we gave the SWAC predicted order finish, and Mike stopped up. And as those that are watching can see on screen, now we're going over your predicted order of finish. So we literally just started with Pine Bluff at 6, Grambling at 5, Prairie View at 4, Southern at 3, Texas Southern at 2, and Alcorn at the top. And so go ahead, want to give you a chance to break down what was kind of your framing of how you saw all this breaking up.
Well, I think Southern being named SWAC West favorites, that kind of caught me off guard. To be honest with you, I didn't have Southern up that high, but you know, and kind of, you know, talking with BJ a little bit and kind of perusing the roster a little bit, I'm like, okay, I see where this defense has gotten better, because they gave up 339 points last year, and the defense was, I thought, what kind of took Southern down a notch. I know that they will be able to run the ball. They have those great running backs in terms of Kobe Dillon and Jared Sims coming back. Those guys are going to be huge for Southern this upcoming season. But my question then was, you know, who's going to be the trigger man? Who's going to be the quarterback for the Southern Jaguars? So, you know, who is it going to be Bubba McDaniel, or are we looking at Harold Blood, you know, making the emergence in terms of being Southern quarterback? I'm sure guys like Rube Hogan and Michael Lee, you guys can help me out a lot with regards to this Southern Jaguar Washington. But I think this defense is going to be the story of Southern. So I probably can move them up since SWAC Media Day, because, you know, I kind of took a much better look at the roster. But Texas Southern, I think, could have a huge impact in terms of SWAC West when you take a look at what they're able to do with Andrew Body. If they stay healthy, if Andrew Body is healthy, they got playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Of course, the problem with Texas Southern, can they stop anyone? And I think that's going to be, you know, one of those things. Not only can they stop anyone, but can they not shoot themselves in the left foot, the right foot, and the kneecap? Because I think that's been the issue.
Yeah, that's a lot of dangerous weapons when you start shooting yourself in both feet. That's dangerous. Possessions. Yeah, when you do that and all those extra possessions, it just demoralizes the defense, even when they are able to get a good stop. You put them right back on the field when they're like that. Well, let me give you mine before we take this last break, and then we'll break down the Eastern Division, where we might get into some fun there too. I have Arkansas at Pine Bluff at 3-8. I have them 1-7 in the conference, 1-4 in the division. So I broke mine down. Not only I actually did overall conference record. I have Prairie View at 4-7. I have them tied for actual fourth, because I got them 2-6 in the conference, 1-4 in the division. This is a team that I'm really intrigued about the season. I think with the change, if they get a little momentum, if they get that home game against Texas Southern, I think they can flip that maybe to 7-4, be a little bit tighter in the race. But I have them actually losing that game because of the newness of what's going on, which is a major concern with me there. I have them tied at fourth with Grambling State, which is 3-8. I have them, again, as I said, tied for fourth. So I have them at 2-6. I actually have Prairie View losing their head-to-head to Grambling and Dallas, and that's why they are above them in terms of, even though they're tied. And I have them 2-3 in the division. And number 3, I think Texas Southern is going to have a breakout year with a couple of key wins in the conference, but not enough to really drive it. Struggling with those 2 FBS, so I think that's going to load up on the losses there. So I just have them sitting at 4-7 overall. I have them 3-5 in the conference. One of those wins could be a big win that really throws a monkey wrench in somebody, but I have them just 2-3 in the division, not doing well in the crossover games. At number 2, I have Alcorn State at 6-5, just getting over the win list, but I have them 5-3. I have them losing in those crossover games. I see the East stronger than West again. I think those matchups will be closer, but I don't see the West quite getting over the hump, and that's why I see having some problems there, because I have Alcorn 4-1 in the division, but 5-3 in the conference, which tells you something how I feel about the divisional crossover games. I have Southern 8-3, winning it, and I have them 5-0 in the division, but I have them just 6-2 in the conference. I have them losing 2 of their crossover games to FAMU and to Jackson, with both of those games being on the road. If they're able to get one of those, it could get real interesting real quick in terms of them being able to fight for a divisional home game for a championship game. If they can get it done against Jackson, will it be the difference? If Jackson is able to get it done in the East, will that matchup be the difference in terms of who plays a home game? Boy, it would be intriguing, because I think in a championship matchup between Jackson and Southern, home field advantage could go a long way in terms of that. But right now, I have the edge over to Jackson State. I'll tease out and wait until Thursday, give you some insight of what I got, because I broke down BIAC, and I can tell
He ain't smiling. He ain't smiling. CB, you said that. CB ain't smiling. When you said that, I get an edge to Jackson. He also.
Yeah. So I'll come back on the other side and give you all a chance to break down the Eastern Division, and I'll break down with my records. Stay with us after this last break. We'll break down and give you what it looks like in terms of these gentlemen explaining why they picked certain teams, where they picked them in terms of their predicted order of finish in the SWAC. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this last break.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless. Pick something we all like.
Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Let's get back into it. I'm going to start with you, Charles, in terms of your breakdown of the Eastern Division. The top won't surprise most folks, but let's start at the bottom. You have Bethune-Cookman at the bottom. Mm-hmm. Now, you said Valley will be improved, but it's not going to necessarily show in the number of wins, at least in terms of their conference order of finish, because you have them fifth. You have Alabama State above Valley. I think that's fascinating in terms of that, because you have some people that are in on Alabama State and others not so much. Alabama A&M, you do have third. You have FAMU second and Jackson State at the top. Many people understand why you're talking about the talent at Jackson State. But talk about maybe a little more in terms of your other teams in the division, why you picked them to fit where they are.
I really like Alabama State. I think they got some pieces that were injured on the defensive side of the ball last year that are coming back. But the addition of quarterback Demontrius Davis, I think that's going to be huge for Alabama State in terms of actually being able to score the football. This is a dynamic playmaker that's coming into this conference. For those that haven't had an opportunity to see him, he is the truth. We've seen him up close and personal here in Houston in terms of leading North Shore to 6A state championship, largest division here in the state of Texas. So that was a coup for Eddie Robinson Jr. to bring him in from Auburn. Mississippi Valley, I'm looking for another signature win beyond that one signature win that they get. So I want to see if Valley is able to, not just scare somebody, but get over the hump with regards to what they're going to do. But, I think everything comes down to that Orange Blossom Classic, Florida A&M and Jackson State. I think in terms of talent-wise, these are two bellwether teams over there in SWAC East. I have Alabama A&M up pretty high, but that's just a lot to overcome. That was a record-setting quarterback that's no longer in their locker room. So Alabama A&M, I can see Alabama State usurping Alabama A&M this upcoming season. I can actually see that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Magic City Classic will be interesting if that is the case. Some of the games that you talk about for Valley, I think if they're able to do it, it's because they get a couple of more of those big games at home. So obviously non-conference, you got Delta State, Mississippi Valley in terms of that area. Even though they're Division II solid program, that would be a statement if they can get that win. I think it would be important in terms of where they are with their program. They have Alcorn State, the Braves, at home, Charles, that's another chance for them to make that statement at home. They have Bethune-Cookman at home. They have Alabama A&M, one that you see you might have some concerns with in terms of what they're going to do replacing the quarterback. They had that game at home, so that's always solid. And they have Prairie View, where they went on the road and won. They have Prairie View, a team that's won a little payback, but they have them at home, to your point. Let me go to you,
radar. The National Junior College Player of the Year, that's at Valley now, Jamar Jones. So that would be interesting. Take a look at what they do this upcoming season.
Yep. Let's go to Mike and see if he gives us this Valley. He actually has them improving a little bit, so maybe not. At number 6, he has Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. At number 5, he has Alabama State, so he switches that because he has Valley at 4. At the top, he has the same predicted order finish you have with Alabama in the 3rd spot. He has FAMU at number 2 and Jackson State at number 1. It's fascinating to see that. Most people have Jackson State in terms of those calling it from the BCSN crew. Instead of Brian put up their FAMU. He's going to say it with his chest in terms of what he believes as well. So getting back to Mike, break down some of your predicted order finish and why.
Well, FAMU, definitely tough. They had some key transfer. The big question, FAMU is still a question of the quarterback. Who's going to be calling the signals? Who's going to be that dude for FAMU? It was a question last year going in, and it's still a question in 1 year later for FAMU. I see in the chat line people, well, Valley's going to do this. I have them improving, but stop it. Stop it. Stop it. We still talking about Valley, okay? They will really win a few more games, but we still talking about Valley. Where did Valley finish the last 5, 6, 7 years? I don't want to hear this Valley stuff. Yes, they'll get a little better, but yes. So we'll see. They got a few transfers in. They got a few all whatever players. We'll see. They still have, to me, what I call a relatively new coaching staff, but the coach is dynamic for sure. So please stop it about Valley winning the conference or upsetting. Yes, they will improve. Alabama A&M, I agree with CB. They still got Ibrahim coming in, tremendous receiver. Who's going to be at the quarterback? That's a big step down, order of magnitude potentially, unless he surprises us. Replacing the quarterback at A&M. I look for some surprises for Alabama State. They'll be my dark horse. I want to see what Eric Robinson. I want to see what he's gonna do. He got a chip on his shoulder. I think.
Mike, let me help everybody. Let me help everybody out that's down in Jackson State. That defense ain't going nowhere, folks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just be real honest with you about that. Well, you can talk about the offensive line, yada yada. That defense ain't going nowhere.
That's true. The defense is not going anywhere. And as many people have decided to pick on the offensive line, which was obviously had some problems with the offensive line. But you see the amount of points they put up and what they can do passing the ball. If they just get a little improvement from the offensive line, and you're truthful with yourself and you're not just frustrated about the success of Jackson State, you have to understand that they're going to be solid. So that's fascinating with me.
Absolutely.
I do see Southern folks out there. Troy Frank, it's a good evening, fellas. Southern will be the story of the SWAC at the end of the football season. That'll be fascinating to watch. Karen says, one conference win? Oh, wow. She must be talking about my Hampton statement. Hampton and Tuskegee game will be a good one, said by Mary Allen. Anthony Weston said, greetings, everyone. So some good stuff there. Mike says, what up, guys? He's in here. So a lot of good stuff. The OBC game will be the one to see who comes out of the winner. Yes, certainly. But I think it's going to be a little more mixed up. I think somebody else is going to pull somebody's card in terms of that matchup. And I don't see a necessary team in either division going undefeated in conference play. That's something that has changed for me. Not saying that Jackson State still can't fit on top. I do see them find a way to get over it. I just think they have a lot of talent there. Hey, PV used to be Valley. Don't underestimate those Delta Devils. I agree. Yeah, we were much more than we'd like to admit. We're not careful, according to Mike and myself, might be closer back to there than we wish. I don't think it should be that bad, but hey, it is what it is. And number 6, I have Bethune-Cookman. I have them improving, but I still see a tough schedule. I see them at just 3-8, 2-6, 1-4 in terms of getting it done. Alabama State, I have them just trying to get to the 500 level and overall, 5-6, knocking on that door. But I have them just 3-5 in the conference and 1-4 in the division. So I see them getting a lot more done outside of the conference than they are in conference. But I have them tied with Mississippi Valley. So I feel some of what Charles is talking about. I see Valley knocking on the door of a 500 record at 5-6. I have them 3-5 in terms of conference race as they're tied with Alabama State. But I have them 2-3 in the division, getting that key victory over Alabama State. I have a 3-way tie for the top 3 teams. I have Alabama A&M at 8-3, but I have them 7-1 in conference play, 4-1 in the division. FAMU at 8-3, 7-1 in conference play, 4-1 in the division. Jackson State at 10-1, 7-1 in conference play, 4-1 in the difference. I have all those teams beating each other. I have Jackson State defeating FAMU in the Orange Blossom Classic, but I have FAMU defeating Alabama A&M at home in Tallahassee. I have Alabama with the shocker of the year in Mobile, defeating Jackson State in that matchup 7-1. But Jackson State starts so high in the poll ranking, and they're going to run off all these wins throughout the year. So they're going to get up to 10, maybe 8. Some may even jump them all the way to 5. So one loss is not going to drop them past 12 or 15 in the rankings. And because of the tiebreaker system, I see them getting the tiebreak, having a better conference record than the team coming out of the West. And even if it's tied, I have them defeating Southern head-to-head. So I have them hosting the championship game, which I see against Southern, with them being able to find a way to get it done in that matchup, returning to the Celebration Bowl, facing – I won't tell you that. You have to check back with us on Thursday so I can tell you the breakdown of what I see going on in the MEAC, of who Jackson State will ultimately face in the MEAC for the Celebration Bowl in 2022. With that, I want to say thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watts and Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watts and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Stick with us. We'll be right back here on Thursday breaking down some news of the week as well as what to expect from the the MEAC Football Media Day in Norfolk, Virginia that's scheduled for this Friday. We give you some breakdowns of what comes out of the Big South in the Colonial, let you know what that looks like. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 in terms of Twitter, Facebook, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, as well as YouTube. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil. That's DrKenyattaCavil. Dream big, continue to move forward. We'll talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss.